Okay, the switch from economic freedom to economic servitude. Wealth and debt. Which do you want? Do you want wealth or do you want debt? And that's what this video is about. That's what our whole lives are all about here. The authors, Byron Dale and Gregory Soderbergh. www.wealthmoney.org. So, guys, we seem to experience poor economies every 10 to 15 years. Why? The labor, raw resources are available to produce goods. There is no shortage of food, cars, or clothes. The only thing that seems to cause hard times is shortage of money. Shortages are everywhere. Individuals, businesses, schools, federal, state, county, township, and city governments are short. I'm sure you can think of others that are short. Why is there such shortage of money and so much debt? The root of the problem lies in the fact that over a period of 80 years, Congress passed some very bad laws. Those laws took the issuing of America's money supply out of the hands of the citizens for their own benefit and switched it into the hands of private banking systems for their benefit. The money was now lent, not spent, into circulation. The switch was made as Congress passed laws that diminished and stopped the free coinage of metals into money and switched America to bank credits and banknotes, evidence of indebtedness as our medium of exchange. The real issue is not gold versus silver or paper versus numbers. The real issue is wealth versus debt, freedom versus servitude. The reason gold and silver worked as money is that the people furnished the raw metals, elements of the earth, through a labor they performed first. Then, under the 1792 Coinage Act, anyone could take raw resources to our mint and have it turned into a coin free of charge. Anybody. By this process and principle, we the people furnished our own money supply as representation of our productivity and wealth and debt-free medium of exchange, a benefit to all society. We increased our money supply as we increased our production. We could buy, sell, and save without having to be in debt. If you didn't want to carry the coins, you could take them to the mint and deposit them. The Treasury would give you a gold or silver certificate receipt stating on its face that there was X amount of gold or silver on deposit in the Treasury. Now you had a receipt, paper money, true evidence of the money on deposit, produced as a wealth by the people, for the benefit of the people, owned by the people, a free people. Now here's that bill right there. Pause it, take a look at it. Hope it got on there pretty good. The following gold certificate receipt states on its face, this certificate that there have been deposited in the Treasury of the United States of America $20 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. This certificate is legal tender in the amount thereof in payment of all debts and dues public and private. Act of March 14th, 1900, as amended December 24th, 1919. The wording was almost the same on silver certificates. The issuance of gold and silver certificates provided legal tender paper money that was as good as gold or silver, as a receipt gave the bearer title to so much gold or silver. The only way these could be misused was if the government spent or loaned more certificates than gold or silver dollars on deposit. This would be similar to debasement of coinage, adding a less valuable metal or making the coins weigh less. When the mint was monetizing, turning into money, the people's production of gold and silver bullion, government spending more certificates than the people had on deposit in the gold and silver coin would clearly be a fraud. However, government spending more certificates than the people had deposited in gold and silver coin could benefit the people as long as it was spent for something the people wanted and produced that all people could use with no fees or taxation, like roads and bridges. Without them, we could have no commerce. The people would have an increase in their money supply and earn debt-free payment equal to the increase in labor, goods, and services. The people would control the money creation process. America's government would be doing its duty by creating and spending money for the people, benefiting the people as a service to the people. If government spends money for whatever it wants, that does not benefit the people as a whole. Promotes the general welfare. That's what you're wanting. And that doesn't do that. As stated above, we immediately lose control of our government. It has no need to tax the people, to have revenue. If government only creates and spends the money based upon the people's production of government, must tax before they can provide any services. So only when the government operates on taxes voluntarily paid by the people can the citizenry have any true control. That's what that basically means. Okay, the government, basically, we're not in control of the government, guys. That way the taxes can actually free the people. The people can have less going wrong for them. They can simply stop paying the taxes if it does. So American government must conform to the will of the people, or it is not the government by the people for the people. We must return for this republic. We have to go back to the republic. The government doing that which we will voluntarily, without force, pay for. So when government creates and spends money based solely upon the people's production of one thing, people must have to engage in commerce. It has no need to tax the people for it. And even became the global reserve currency status, which forces everybody to do that too, after Bretton Woods. When our government issued more certificates for gold and silver coin than we the people had on deposit, and put them into circulation as interest-bearing loans to us, there is a totally different outcome. That's what our government did, with a slight twist. When Congress stopped the free coinage of metals passed in the National Currency Act of 1863 and the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. Then all new money was and is still created and issued by private commercial banks. It no longer represents wealth owned by the people. It represents fraudulent banknotes and book entry assets loaned to the people as debt owed to the people at interest. So we owe our owed money at interest to these private offshore banking cartels. So the switch in principles took the benefits from the people, but then in servitude, giving them benefits to the banking system owners. We lost control of government, the benefits of ownership, lower taxes, and our freedom. We can see this clearly by reading the writing on the face of the following 1918 Federal Reserve banknote. So check this out. If you can see that good, I hope you can. Pause it. Take a look at these notes. This is how they keep tricking us by switching what it looks like and going, now they're going to go completely digital with the Fed coin. But anyway, it states on its face, the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, Illinois will pay to the bearer on demand $1 Federal Reserve banknote. The note no longer says dollar of what like gold and silver certificates. It also says secured by the United States certificates of indebtedness. Wow. This is why our government, we the people, is now so deep in debt, and why the debt keeps growing. It's because we now owe for the use of our own money. It's evidence of debt we owe. That's all the money is. We've moved from money representing wealth produced and controlled by the people for their benefit to a total debt money produced and controlled by the banks for their personal profit and benefit of the bank owners. The banking system did this one small step at a time. Let's look at the 1928 series Federal Reserve note. As you can see over here to the right. Isn't that crazy? So they just keep switching it. The big switch, like the Great Reset. So let's look at the 1928 series. It's easy to see the banking system wants us to believe that their note is the same thing as gold certificates and receipts. It is not a certificate of wealth. It is a banknote, an evidence of debt, even though it was redeemable in gold on demand at the United States Treasury or in gold or lawful money at the Federal Reserve Bank. So the banks deceitfully loaned many times over more gold notes than there was gold. Many times over. In 1933, there's a 33 right there. Government took all the evidence of wealth, gold from the people under threat of $10,000 fines or 10 years of imprisonment or both. Roosevelt Executive Order 6102. And they demonetize it, so it's no longer money, the gold and silver, essentially. That's, by law, that's what they said. Later, the 1934 series Federal Reserve note below no longer said redeemable in gold on the top. So, there you go right there. They just keep switching it. They just keep switching the wording on there. So they're by over time you got nothing in your hands. Now the note reads, this note is legal tender for all debts public and private and is redeemable in lawful money at the United States Treasury or at any Federal Reserve Bank. The note admits on its face that it is not lawful money because it states it is redeemable in lawful money but does not indicate what lawful money is. It did have a promise to pay written on its face, therefore it met the specifications of a legal note. It's negotiable paper, right? Next, let's closely examine a 1950 series Federal Reserve note. It looks similar to the 1934 note, but the wording about legal tender and redeemable and lawful money has been reduced to 3 lines. Wow. The printing has been reduced to a barely visible, almost unreadable size as well. If you look here, you should pause these and look at those notes here. If you can see up close here. But yeah, and let's look on the Federal Reserve note used today. It only says this note is legal tender for all debts public and private. With George Washington right there. All right. Let's see. Nowhere are the words redeemable and lawful money or will pay to the bearer on demand. The note is no longer a legal, negotiable instrument promising to pay something else. It has become something else in and of itself. We've been duped, guys. Now the only thing we have for a medium of exchange is a credit at the bank. No, a number, right? That is created and loaned into circulation at interest to us by a bank. So just got the collar on. Might as well have like shock collars. Like they were actually proposing in airplanes one time. They actually said we need shock collars on the airplanes. Remember that? So the Amendment 13, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within. We are in economic servitude, guys. Forced into debt to obtain mediums of exchange. Servitude flies in the face of the spirit and the intent of America and freedom violating the 13th Amendment. So, yeah, you don't ever hear about the 13th Amendment. Remember, I'll say it again. The 13th Amendment, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within. So in order to get into this type of system, you have to be duly convicted of something, basically. That's what we're in. We're basically in a giant prison, guys. As soon as interest is charged, the debt becomes greater than the money supply, causing nearly everyone to be short of money. You feeling the squeeze? You feeling the burn? The total collective debt can never be paid and must constantly grow, keeping us perpetually obligated, just constantly having to feed the fraud. This fraudulently created debt forces citizens to borrow constantly. The process becomes unworkable as society mortgaged to the hilt can no longer afford to borrow, causing ever increasing bankruptcies and more rounds of increasing debts. This debt creates extreme stress as the people struggle to meet impossible money obligations. Some of the results are losses of purchasing power, a constantly rising cost of living, difficulty saving, family breakdowns, right? Increased drug and alcohol use. Man, the fentanyl. Like, one of my friends died last year. It's really sad. Increase of all sorts of crime, right? The moral breakdown of society. Disney, right? Let's be honest with their insertions of sexual programming of the children. I mean, that's actually going on. The moral breakdown of society is happening. January 24th, 1939, Robert Hemphill, 8 years credit, Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta stated, the manager of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta stated, if all bank loans were paid, no one would have a bank deposit and there would not be a dollar of coin or currency in circulation. This is a staggering thought. We are completely dependent on the commercial banks. Someone has to borrow every dollar we have in circulation, cash or credit. If the banks create ample synthetic money, we are to prosper. If not, we starve. We are absolutely without a permanent money system. When one gets a complete grasp of the picture, the tragic absurdity of our hopeless position is almost incredible. But it's a banking problem. It's the most important subject an intelligent person can investigate and reflect upon. This subject. It is so important that our present civilization may collapse unless it becomes widely understood and the defects remedied very, very soon. Senate document number 23, page 102. Now that you know the truth, don't despair. We do not have to work longer and harder as we get older to experience a constantly lowering standard of living. We got into this mess because we allowed Congress to pass some very bad laws. So we can get out of this mess by being responsible, guys. Insisting that Congress pass a few very good laws, federal and state regulation, read the best solution exists detailing the steps to spending all new money into circulation as a debt-free evidence of wealth and final payment. Talk about this with your friends, neighbors, teachers, federal representatives, senators, and president. There is life after debt. So I did talk about that book in Rocco Bianco show, episode 420, at the very end of the show. So then I gave you the solution already in that video, so go check that out too. And you guys have a good one. I'm going to go live tonight, so call in. All right, excellent.